So the House of Representatives discussed a bill in the Transportation Committee related to litter. It's House Bill 100. It's the Highway Cleanup Act of 2021. And as the name indicates, it's mainly about making sure that we get litter cleaned up along our roadsides. You may remember years ago we used to have inmates from the local jails and prisons would come out and clean up litter. Because of cost concerns in the past, that has gone away. This bill proposes to bring that back, so it would appropriate some money so that we'd have those folks out on the highways cleaning up litter. It also requires that DOT, before they mow the right-of-ways, that they actually have the litter picked up first, so that we're not creating more smaller amounts of litter scattered everywhere after they mow the right-of-ways. But most importantly, it appropriates some money for additional education on litter. There seemed to be a lot bigger campaign about that in the past, and so this would hopefully bring back some of those educational materials related to litter. As the bill was originally introduced, it would also greatly increase the fines for littering, which I think a lot of our farmers would appreciate, seeing how they have to deal with a lot of illegal dumping on their properties. The version that passed the Transportation Committee actually did not increase the fines, but maybe that could come back in a different version of the bill later on. In Senate Ag last week, there was a bill passed the committee. It was discussed in length, actually, surprisingly, for a Senate bill, related to native plants. And so this bill, it's a Senate Bill 628. It's actually titled Native Plants Right to Work Act. So they're getting better at giving good names to bills this year. And essentially what it does is it builds on legislation that was passed a session or two ago related to planting native species, native plants along the roadways. The way the current law is, it gives some preferential treatment to native plants on roadside plantings, essentially with DOT. What this bill does is actually goes much further than that and would actually require, and that only native plants could be planted on the roadside, but it also extends that to any state properties, as well as municipalities that get what's called POW bill funding. So that's funding it's state money to help on roadways in municipalities. The concern about that bill is how restrictive it is. Obviously we support planting native species, but we also, there is no flexibility in that you can only plant native species. And so for our nurseries, they don't only grow native species, they also grow plants that have been bred specifically for North Carolina but may not be considered native. So there's some concern about how specific this particular bill is. During the discussion in the committee, the bill sponsor was very open to working with our nursery industry to find the right compromise. And so as that bill moves forward through different committees, it will likely change a little bit, but it looks like the nursery industry and the bill sponsor will work together to find the right balance. Senate Appropriations last week discussed and passed the newest COVID relief bill. This is the first one in response to the latest federal monies that were sent down from Congress. It's relatively administrative in that it just sets up the procedures that they'll use to appropriate those dollars. So that bill will probably move fairly quickly, and then there'll be another bill that starts to appropriate monies for particular programs. We're working with House and Senate leadership right now and those appropriators to help find ways that we can use that money to help some of the farms and agribusinesses that could use some assistance.